I can hear things. My senses heightened immediately. I was able to hear like the ambulance from a distance, phone calls and radio dispatch. It felt like I was everywhere all at once. It was very vivid visions of everything that I can see, but I was unconscious. I was on life support for 2.5 days. And right when I saw her reaching for the plug is when I had my NDE. My name is Malcolm Nair, and I'm from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I had an NDE in 2010 in October. Before the NDE, who was I? I was I was a different person, but I was I was worse. All right. And before, I didn't know nothing. I didn't know anything about spirituality. I didn't know anything about being um, a human for that matter. I didn't know about healing. I didn't know about a mind, body, spirit connection. I didn't know the power of thoughts and frequency. And so before, when I used to think thoughts, or when I used to think in a fearful way, or fear, doubt, anger, frustration, my life was full of that. My life was always run by my thoughts. So if I was thinking about certain family members or drugs and alcohol, I would witness those experiences into reality. I would almost it would call into existence. So that's how my life was. I started smoking cigarettes when I was 8 years old. I got introduced to cigarettes and drugs and alcohol early on. I lived with my mom because my mom and dad divorced when I was 1 years old. And when my parents divorced, they moved to separate cities. So I had to visit my dad for summer holidays, 2, 3 months out of the year, every summer holiday. And I did that all the way up until about grade five. And grade six, they enrolled me in school, which was against my mother's wishes. And they went behind her back, involved court lawyers, social workers, and alienated me and made me say certain things. And I was programmed early on to do these things. My subconscious mind was broken. My conscious mind was broken. I was taken away from my parents at a young age, and I dealt with a lot of uh, turmoil and trauma and resentment growing up. Right before I had the NDE, my lifestyle was toxic. It was full of just wanting to hang out, drink, and probably party, go clubbing, and I was smoking and dabbling in who knows what. And um, I was sexually active, and I was mindless, and you know, it was just horrible. It was just not good. I was getting into fights, and I was getting tickets, and I was getting in trouble by police officers. I would get into trouble on purpose. I would start fights with people, and I would want to be in the center of that attention. If I would see any problems occur at a party, at a club, anyone's house party, at a nightclub, I was wanting to be there. I wanted to show up and show off, and be the challenger. It was like all eyes on me, and the attention was always on me, and I was always getting uh in in problems and fights. And It was not good, man. Not good at all. What led up to the NDE was a lot of doubt and fear. And I was actually thinking my way to giving up in life. I was basically, um, I think I was getting to a point of doubt and fear and failure and giving up and not knowing my purpose, and I was unfulfilled, right? And I I didn't know it then, right? So usually when I share my story, I just say it with what people know or what everybody knows about me and how I've said it. But to be honest with you, I think the truth is, and not that I didn't say the truth, but the truth is that I I thought my way to it. You know, our spirits, we have our ego. We have our ego spirit, our ego mind, and we can taint our spirits. We could taint ourselves. So I believe I was tainting my spirit. I kept speaking negatively, and my ego was overriding my subconscious was speaking to my consciousness, and I was feeding it. I was saying, "Yeah, that's true. F this, forget that. I don't care. It's gonna happen. Watch me do it." And those whispers that we are supposed to listen to turned into whispers of, "Fine, just do it then," or "Let go do that. Go do that." Because I was shutting it down. I was shutting it down every time it was trying to warn me, trying to wake me up, trying to level me up, trying to, give me insights and epiphany moments. I didn't see those epiphany moments. I didn't see those realizations. And it wanted to see if I was going to do something with it, and I didn't. I went along with it, and I could have killed myself in so many different ways: suicide, overdoses, drugs, pharmaceuticals. But this one was like a overdose of life, like everything. Like it was never enough. It was never enough girls. It was never enough drugs. It was never enough alcohol. I was getting to a point in my life that I can continuously finish a 60 pounder bottle with three people. And that's the life back in 2010 prior. And, and so I ended up going to a party, and now you would think that's manifestation. You thought it into existence. At that time, I didn't know I was thinking into existence, but I thought it into existence. I thought every detail into existence, and everything would happen when you detach and you let it go, and then it ends up happening and coming to you. So those things happen. I go to a party. I'm drinking. I'm already, on all these things, and I end up, not feeling it was enough, feeling unfulfilled, feeling purposeless. And so, anyways, I end up getting my car and I start driving around, and I get confused and I get lost and I don't know where I'm going. And I'm going in circles and I'm speeding and I'm driving super fast where I could see just lights flashing back and forth by my eyes. And I can't really comprehend how fast I was going. All I know is when they did the investigation and they checked the computer in the car, they said I was going over 100 miles an hour. And I must have been going faster than that beforehand, because that was right before impact. So right before I hit the house, they said I was going 100 kilometers or 100 miles an hour is when I hit the house. And you know I was just driving so fast, and I sideswiped two vehicles, and I banged my head. I kind of daze out of consciousness. I come back into consciousness, and I don't know if I was trying to push the brakes, but I pushed down on the gas pedal even harder, all the way down, and I just went up someone's yard, and I hit a brick house, and my car just was crushed. And my body ejected out of the vehicle, my leg broke over the steering wheel, my head ejected head first out of the car, and my body was just left on the hood. And I was I believe that, my spirit, or at that time, I don't know, but I do remember many times at the hospital that my spirit came in and out of my body to take off my neck brace, and do certain things, and do a lot of different things. But I still haven't heard confirmation from the homeowners, if they dragged me to the right side of the hood, but my body was found on the right side of the hood. But I think that my spirit gave me the strength, and I crawled myself to the passenger side, and I passed out. And I passed out on the passenger side because when they came, the ambulance found my body on the passenger side of the hood, and my T-shirt was ripped on the passenger side, and they found my T-shirt and on the battery of the car. And so a lot of things don't make sense if I was trying to crawl off the car and start walking or something, and that's how my shirt got caught on the battery. I was diagnosed with brain damage, short term memory loss, bleeding in my brain. My lung collapsed. I had over 20 to 30 cc's of blood build up in my brain. I had 75% of nerve damage, brain damage, and all across the right sub hemisphere of my body. And I had a lot of injuries, a lot of cuts and tearage and nerve tearage and muscle tearage, and I was just I was done. And when it happened, I felt everything. Though I felt like that I can hear things. My senses heightened immediately. I was able to hear like the amblets from a distance. I was able to hear like phone calls and radio dispatch, and I it felt like I was everywhere all at once, but I was near my body first, and so I was waiting the whole time, and then ambulance showed up, and it's like I can visualize, and I can see things into the future, because things that I was seeing happened after. I could already know the phone calls and the thoughts and the talks and the conversations that were going to happen. Um, it was like I was premonizing, and I do it still, and people are shocked by it. Like my family and my ex, when we were together, I would tell her things like I premonize a lot. I would tell her what's going to happen with this person, what they're thinking. Trust me, it's going to happen day after tomorrow. Or my kids would always play games with me, like, what am I thinking? Or or what are we gonna do? Guess what I'm gonna do in a couple of days? Like, or I would be able to materialize, things, but it was more not just materializing like magic. It was more like I was convinced that these items can come into my life, or these people could come into my life. And so when it would happen, it's like you're materializing into existence. But so I ended up um, getting into the ambulance. The ambulance comes, and they're like, oh my gosh, like right away. Everything they're saying is, oh my gosh. Like, like they were just, their heart was in their chest the whole time. I could feel it. And they're just trying to see if they're going to get a heartbeat. They were already saying that he's losing too much blood. He lost too much blood, and then when they couldn't revive me there, they just had to take me to the hospital. So they rushed to the hospital within 10 minutes, or they were doing it while the driver and everyone's getting ready to get in and ready to go, because they couldn't resuscitate me. And then they get me to the hospital, and they I remember on the gurney, them bringing me into the hospital, and I can see all the nurses, the attendants. I can see all the uh, doctors and everything, and it was just very interesting. It was very vivid visions of everything that I can see, but I was unconscious. I was on life support for 2.5 days, but I was able to hear people's thoughts. I could see everybody walking, moving, eating food, and everything, but my spirit was doing it out of my body the whole time. And when I needed ice chips or I needed fluids to keep me hydrated so I didn't dehydrate to death, my spirit came into my body, and the side that was paralyzed, like I had paralysis, 75%. So when I woke up, I couldn't move this arm. I had to lift it up. The same arm went like this to my lips. And my mom recognized what I was doing, and she said, "He needs water. He needs water." Because I was sending signals to her thoughts for her to come in and open up the curtain to see. But she screamed first because I took off my neck brace as well, and the breathing tube. So I took off my own neck brace. I took out my own breathing tube, and I went like this. And she was crying and shouting and yelling. And the nurse said, "No, ma'am, we can't. He might be responding or he might be waking up, but we can't give him water. We're not allowed." And she's like, "I don't care. I know when my son needs something." And so they said, "We can only give him ice chips. We can't give him water." So my mom started giving me ice chips, and it's so cool, but so crazy that that's all what my spirit needed. And then my spirit left my body again. And then they spent 15 minutes deciding, and they told my mom and the family to make a decision if they are going to unplug me because we might think he's responding. But when they did that, and my mom was making that decision, that's when I saw my mom as a spirit. I saw her reaching for the plug. And right when I saw her reaching for the plug is when I had my NDE. And that's when I had my out of body experience. I saw so much happened, and time, space, it opened up my eyes, quantum jumping, quantum leaping, all of these things that we are doing, trying to do in reality now, that we're trying to escape from the matrix. But the thing is, it's very complex, because I had to realize it after going through more karmas, cycles, and patterns. After I started living, coming back to life again. So I came alive when I had my NDE. I realized where I'm alive for the first time ever. And I saw my body as a distant detachment that I was attached. So I didn't understand attachment, detachment, surrender, uh, inner peace, letting go, being in the unknown, expectation. I didn't understand all this back then. But that's when I was gravitated. So there was a gravitational pull that naturally uh, connected to my spirit, and I had like some other control take over. It wasn't me willingly leaving the hospital, the walls and stuff. In the beginning, yes, when I was doing all that, walking around, floating and flying around and looking at everybody, going into each hospital room, surgeries. I was there. I saw everything. I told the doctors what they were talking about, told the nurses what they said to me. Even afterwards, the way I healed and walked out of the hospital, when they said it's going to take me years to heal and walk. It's going to take me forever to deal with this paralysis and the numbness and the bleeding in the brain and all the brain damage and all this stuff that they said would not happen. I proved to them in 3 days. I self healed my broken bone. I self healed my lungs, my heart, my I was able to regulate my heart rate, my temperatures. I was able to heal my nerves. They're all mangled. They were all mangled. They showed me on X-rays how mangled my nerves were, and they showed me how damaged my muscles were torn. From my ligaments, everything was just ruined, and I was able to heal all of that. And I walked out of the hospital, and I started walking in 3 days. And they had to discharge me, but they had to find me a bedroom. And they found me a bedroom at Care West Rehabilitation Center i- on the sixth day. And then they discharged me. They said, "We need to give this room to someone in need. You're no longer in need, Malcolm." My spirit was guiding me the whole time. My guided intelligence was telling me, "No, Malcolm, you're healing. They're gonna give you blood clots. They're gonna make you bleed in your brain. They're gonna make you suppress everything. They're next. So what's gonna happen next, Malcolm? They're gonna tell you that you're gonna need morphine and oxycodone and all this stuff, because they're gonna lie to you about your bleeding in your brain. You're gonna have a conversation with them. They're gonna say, no, it's not bleeding in the brain. You're gonna tell them you're healing. They're gonna laugh at you and tell you, no, you're not healing. That you're gonna tell them that your lung can heal in 1 day, and they're gonna say, no, it's supposed to take 6 weeks. I healed my lung in 1 day. I also teach people that we don't have to worry about our pain and suffering to heal. We don't have to worry about being able to achieve money and success while we're suffering and we're going through lack. So these are other concepts can also open you up to more ideas than just typical NDE. Like, so because people they suffer, and I say, look, wasn't I suffering when I was going through my problems, my trauma, and I had broken bones, collapsed lung, brain damage, bleeding my brain. They had to drill a hole. They had to drill into my head, and I had all that pain and everything going on. How did I do all this work with my spirit? How did I go here, think that, hear this, and be able to think into existence? And how did I manifest and attract? And how did I break through of my karma cycles and patterns? How did I understand them? How did I put it all together? It's not that I changed right away when I woke up. It was a full journey, a process of me compartmentalizing every component of my life and realizing that the backwards I had to go to restart all over again, step by step. But 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 yeah, sorry, I went off on a tangent, but I was gravitated through the walls, up above the hospital, that room outside of the hospital, and I saw the terrain, and uh I saw everything. I saw all of Calgary. I saw all of uh the atmosphere. I saw the earth when I was leaving, and then I got into a tube or a funnel, and that's when I just now I say surrender, let go, went into the unknown, into the dark, into the unknown, into the unexpected, willingly detached. But there's work and understanding around this. So I ended up going, and I just traveling faster and faster and faster and faster. And it was just taking me places like fast, light years, like traveling in galaxies, outer space, past outer space, lights. It was all black, and but there was lights flashing by. I could see everything, but I knew I was in something. And and then when I went black, because I was worried and I was full of doubt and fear, I said, "What's going on? Am I going to be stuck like this in it for eternity?" Um, but I had the communication all along that I had to relax, I had to surrender, I had to let go. And I did. And then when I did, then I heard voices, I heard speaking, and I heard divine entities and voices, deep, harmonial voices. And it became white, light. And I ended up being right there between black and white and light. And I didn't want to go back into the dark for some reason because I thought I would be stuck there and I wouldn't know what to do, or I'll go back into a vegetable and I would never be able to recover. Um, because all the healing I talked about was after this experience. So I ended up being welcomed. I heard a like, come on, like, come, my child. You're here, you're home, you're welcome. But it was not like voices like that. It was like telepathic. Like I can hear without listening. It was just I knew I know that that's what they were saying. I know that was the feeling and the vibration, and I was welcomed in, and I ended up going inside, and it was all white, and I can see um, a lot of angels just surrendering, and they were just like waiting for their, it felt like they were waiting for their turn, but they were also welcoming me and happy that I'm home and I'm there. They felt like they were my siblings, my brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and cousins and people that like I know, like that we know here, like so close, so familiar. I look over because I didn't know what to do. And I see this huge figure stick up his head and look at me as, hey, what do you want to do? What are you going to do from here on out? And I didn't know how to answer right away. And, but it wasn't like intimidating. It was more like respect. Like that's the voice that you command and demand from, or I don't know, and so I look over and I was shown a scene and I can see like a panorama effect of my entire existence on earth. My life, my timeline, my everything, my past, future, present, all the things, all the experiences, conversations, every little experience that I had with people. And it made me see what I did and what I left behind and what I'm doing. And even, you know, right now I think of these things because new experiences lead to new consequences and new outcomes, and you have to go through it, right? But at that point in time, I felt welcome, like it was my turn to go in line and be here, be there, be home, be ready, and then find out what's next. Either, go to the next level or reincarnate. Or but I looked and even though I was safe and I felt home and I felt welcome and I felt invited and I felt peace, and this was the place to be, that I don't need to go home. I wasn't judged. I wasn't judged. But from seeing my life experience, I judged it. I judged it and I said to myself, I can't go out like this. I can't just leave that, come here and be okay with it, what I left behind. And I had to accept the fact that I was willing to decide to go back, but I had to ask. So with my thoughts, I wanted to go back. I said, but I need to go back and do it again. I need to do stuff. And I was asked, are you sure? And, I said, yes, I'm sure. But they didn't tell me like, you're going to go through this, you're going to have this relationship, you're going to have this trouble with this family, but you're going to go through this with your kids, you're going to go through this again, you're going to go through this again with more cycles, more karmas, more patterns. You're going to have to overcome addictions, you're going to overcome forgiveness, you're going to have to figure out resentment, you're going to have to learn how to quit smoking cigarettes, you're going to have to heal your lung. Like nobody told me that you're going to have brain surgery, you're going to have drill go down, you're going to, and none of that was shown. So I just was welcomed back, and the same way I came up is the same way that I went back, and I go down the same way, and I come into this realm, into the atmosphere, and I see the plane. I seen a plane, like not a airplane, but the terrain as a plane, and then I ended up coming back to my body, and then about 10 minutes I get up and I lift my body upright, but I didn't remember in that moment, and I didn't recall to say, "I'm here with love and gratitude and forgiveness and compassion," because that's what I saw up there. I came back into this unforgiving body, and I woke up with regret and negativity and toxicity and doubt and fear, and I woke up with um resentment and like, why me? Victim mindset, like, what happened to my leg? I woke up, I'm like, what the F happened to my leg? What the fuck happened to my leg? And I said, it's swollen, look at it. And my mind was so focused on the present, but in such guilt, in such like shame and regret and like pity, all the low vibrations. And my mom and sister were sitting there in the room waiting for me to wake up, and I reminded them of what I was, and there was no gratitude, no appreciation that they told me like that I should have been. And that's how I came back. And it took me some time to learn and realize how to do my inner child release techniques, my thought release techniques, my past life, how to forgive and how to let go and how to quantify my life experience, how to use the dark to get into the light, how to change and heal and use those thoughts frequencies that I can hear and see and feel that. And how do I use it here on earth though? Like, how do I could use it here. I could actually go into people's minds and I can fix my court situation. I can get out of jail. I can talk to the police in my mind. I can make them look at me differently, treat me differently. I can I could do things with energy, you know? And it took time to do it for myself, to quit smoking and healing and all these things. I was a skeptic. I was doubt, and I had to get testimony for myself. I had to get proof. I had to I had to ask God, prove it to me. And so God gave me a cycle again. Okay, I'll give you pneumonia again. And I kept smoking cigarettes. Yeah, it's too hard to quit. Okay, well, I'm gonna give you pneumonia. You want to heal, but you're smoking, and you think you can get this out of me? Like I was slapping God on the face. I was slapping Earth on the face, slapping everything in the face when I would drink and party and smoke again. And and because, but in the beginning, I was fresh. I was like, I had this thing about me, but I got back to Earth, and after months and a few years of being here, going to college, getting influenced by peers in college again, and then girls being around saying, "Hey, Malcolm, can you drive us home? You're like such a good guy." A lot of girls became my friends, and I'm like, oh my God. I didn't realize then, but these cycles started to happen again to suck me in. And the girls started to gravitate towards me again. Like, Malcolm, can you drive me home? Or, they all wanted to hang out with me. Like, I had 6, 7, 8, 9 friends that were girls that wanted to just hang out with me at college, study with me, give me their homework, eat with me, go skip class with me, go hang out with me. And and I would and then I got invites like, "Hey, there's a party and my girlfriends are going, and can you drive me there? Why don't you come?" And so these things, and then I got sucked into life again. And, you know, and then one night I was driving home, and on the highway, I blacked out. I blacked out. And it's not like I drank 12 or 24 beers. I think I only had 3 or 4 beers. And I blacked out on the highway, and people were honking, calling the police. About 20, 30 minutes, banging, banging, banging on my door. Cops. I wake up and I'm like, I look at the cop. I'm like, oh my gosh, what the heck just happened? And he said, open the effing door. What are you doing? So mad at me. He's like, what do you think? You could just have a nightcap? You could just fall asleep whenever you please? And he's like, you're so lucky your keys are not in the ignition. And I look over and my keys were on the passenger side. Just like my body was on the passenger side, my neck brace was taken off, my tube was taken off, me walking and thinking and hearing thoughts and feelings. I'm like, oh my gosh. So he makes me walk home. He took my car, he impounded it, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, thanking God, I'm so sorry. Like, I won't do this again. And I just kept getting these lessons. So I started to listen. And I'm like, so before 2010, there was no listening, no listening. But after the accident, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna listen to that voice, and I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna fix that thought of mine. And so I walk home, and so as I fixed it, when I was smoking, I said, that's what the karma is. That's what my pattern is. That's what my cycle is. And I put it out slowly every night. It took me a while, like several months, almost a year and a half, 2 years. I think I completely stopped smoking cigarettes at 27. And so I started to realize myself into existence again. And I started to work on every area, every aspect, everything in my life. And so that's what helped me go through all of these lessons, and how to learn again, relearn and unlearn and reprogram my subconscious mind, and how to get my subconscious mind to be conscious aware. My biggest thing for people would be, hey, you and I are the same. You know, I have flaws. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect. We're never gonna be perfect. Um, and don't blame yourself. Don't judge people. When you look at people, try to change your thoughts. If you're the most prominent thought is ego and judgment and your distrust, and you're like, oh my god, look at the way that person drives, or look at their ears are big. Think of that thought and just change it now going forward, and be like, I love the ears, I love her ears, I love that car. So now you have to consciously do things and say, no, their arms are beautiful, what a handsome guy, great person, you know because it comes back to you and how you think of yourself and how you feel about yourself. We can put pride and ego there and be like, no, I think I'm great. But really, we still should be changing our thoughts. They become things that you're not going to want to face, like I had to. And it becomes harder. Imagine you survive a car accident like that, you come back into a body, but you're a vegetable. I was in a wheelchair. I had paralysis. I had to heal. Like, it was a struggle. It was not easy for me to go through what I have to go through. I had to lose my kids. I went through a 12-year court battle for my older son. I had to go through cycles. I hit rock bottom over 100 times. I've had over 100 jogs. If you don't care about your life, you want to keep going the way it is, then keep doing the things you want to do. But if you want to realize and do things, then just take these baby steps starting now, and they will add up, and it'll add up. It won't seem like much now, but if you do it over time, over a month, over a year, you'll look back and be like, wow, this has really added up. I'm doing it now. And don't blame your downfalls. And when you fall backwards, don't sit backwards. And when you get back up, don't live in it for too long. Move forward and don't dwell on the past. Dwell on what you want. Dwell on like moving forward. That it's okay I fell for a little bit. I'm going to get back up and I'll keep moving forward, keep taking steps. Because look, even today I'm making mistakes. It was a new experience for me to get dogs. And I got two pit bulls out of all breeds. And I got two pit bulls from puppies. And I had to deal with all of that. And it brought out a lot in me for me to go through and deal with again, all over again. All over again. So I'm not perfect. I'm going through things that I need to keep living this life that I said I'm going to come back and try live again. So that's my message. And don't look at other people and look at you. Focus on you. Take it one step at a time. Don't trust algorithms, social media. Don't look at outside yourself to dictate how you feel inside. Just just look at your life and work on you. And the longer you work on you, you'll get somewhere quick. You'll get there. I was where I was, remember, and now I have a self-help book, a children's book on Amazon called Arnav's Affirmations. I manifested over 25 interview podcasts, became #1 in Airdrie, Alberta for being a hypnotherapist. And I don't even do hypnotherapy. I do subconscious reprogramming, but they awarded me the only therapist out of all therapists to get that award. And these things you can do, and I can show you how because I have a curriculum. You could just Google guided intelligence or Malcolm Nair. You can find me on social media.